Hi everyone, and welcome to the Sunset Safari. My name's Brent. I'm going to be your safari guide. I've got Brian and the thumb on camera, and we have Tara and Nikki in final control. As you can see, we are actually right in the middle of a big herd of elephants at the moment. We're actually right on the peripheries. There's a young bull that was just off the shot there, who's walking behind the vehicle now. We've made our way towards Buffelshoek Dam to check on the lions, and at this time of the day and at this time of the year, it's always a very good chance to find eddies in this area. For those of you who might be new, we are live, so you are seeing everything we are seeing in real time at the exact same time we are. And we're also interactive, so you're able to ask us questions while we're out in the bush, and you can do that by emailing questions at WildEarthTV, or you can just use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. So we're going to move a little bit now because the elephants have moved further away from us, and as soon as we've finished looking at these elephants, I'm going to go check the last position of the lions from this morning. So for those of you who might not have been able to watch for a while, or have missed out the last couple of days, or might even be a new viewer, I'm just going to give you a quick recap on what's been happening. We've been very, very spoilt. Was it 3 days ago? We found the Nkuhuma pride of lions on a young hippo that they'd killed. So they've been in this area now for 3 solid days, and it's been wonderful to watch them very close to the dam. So they've been feeding and drinking and playing. They've also had a few elephant encounters with Scott this morning. Apparently one of the lionesses got chased, and also amazing elephant in this area at this time of the year. Being one of the only water points in this area, we're getting a lot of action around here, and specifically with elephants. Hopefully a bit later in the season we're going to get a lot more big herds of buffalo. So there's ellies all around us. I'm just going to try and get up towards the head of the herd, and then we'll sit stationary there and watch them from there. This is how I like my traffic jams. Have a look on the road in front of me. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 7 that I can see, almost all in a road, walking up the road. Oh, there's a few more to the left. Sorry, madam. There's one female who was coming up behind us, and she could see just by the way she was moving, she got a little bit unrelaxed that we were cutting her off from the rest of the herds. So I just stopped. I've moved back, given her space to move through in front of us, and you can see her body language is now completely relaxed. Yeah, now that she's moved through, she should feel a bit more comfortable that we haven't cut her off, and we can move through to catch up with the rest of the herd. There's a really nice large herd, this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 that I can see, and I'm quite sure there's probably a few I'm missing, and there's at least 4 or 5 young bulls behind us. And here's the female who was straggling a little bit behind. You can see her whole body language. She slowed down her walk, not too stressed at the moment. Also, for those of you who haven't been watching for the last week, or our new viewers, we've also had Scott found Mvula, big male leopard. We've had great ellie viewing, lots of buffalo bulls, great lion viewing, and then I know this morning Scott tried his best to try find that male lion that was literally roaring on our doorstep, and I went out afterwards and also just unable to find him. But we got an interesting report from the lodges to the west of us. That's also early this morning, and two different male lions, not ones that I've seen before. The Styx males actually crossed into Vuyatela. So what our plan for today is well, we're going to leave these ellies now. They're crossing across our northern boundary. We're going to go check on the last position of those lions, and then we're going to head down to the sort of northwestern corner of the reserve where those two Styx male lions apparently crossed, and see if we could find any tracks in that area. So it could be very interesting, because chatting to one of the other guides from Arathusa during the day today, he was telling me that those two Styx males have been chasing a male from another coalition in this week called the Majingalans, and they're getting to that stage now where they are going to start challenging and pushing other male lions for their territory. So it could be very, very interesting times ahead with the lions. There are some more ellies behind us. There's another herd that they moved off. Oh, there we go. Sneaking up on us. The stragglers from the herd. Another female and a calf. Thirsty. Just stopping and listening. She can't see the rest of the herd where they've moved, so she's just listening for them. Okay, guys, well, Brian and I go see if we can find where the Nkuhuma pride have been sleeping for the day. There's a possibility they've been moved around by the amount of elephants in this area. We're going to cross over to Scotty so he can say hi, and let's see what Scotty's got.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. And this monster Ellie bull is very, very close to us. VM is fully zoomed out, he cannot zoom out any further. And this behavior is very characteristic of a bull that is in must, the way they drape their trunk over their tusk like that. Isn't this awesome? He's just resting his nose at a height that's more similar to ours, I guess. And he is smelling us. The wind is blowing gently from us towards him. And he does seem very relaxed, even though he is in must. I've seen this boy before, and Brent had the same big bull yesterday afternoon. And at the moment he seems more inquisitive than anything else. To be honest, he'd be far more interested if we were a female elephant in season, because the sexually heightened stage that he's in causes him to pursue females. He's a monster. And it was quite easy to distinguish him from other elephant bulls because his left tusk is broken. I'm just going to start up and reposition. He's very relaxed, he continues to feed, and wasn't that just the most awesome hello from that big elite bull? And it's from a herd of elephants with Brent to another herd of elephants with me. It sounds like we're getting off to a great start with regards to the elephants, that's for sure. There are a few females behind us, and he's slowly going to be continuing on their trail, hoping that one of them gives in to his seduction. It's interesting to note, some of you may be wondering what must is, the term I keep referring to. It's a sexually heightened stage that bull elephants come into once or twice a year for a few weeks to a couple of months, depending on the individual. And basically there's just a huge increase in testosterone and hormones, and they can often become quite mischievous, and that is actually where the word must is derived from. It's an Indian word for mischievous, and that was obviously given to the Indian elephants, who differ quite greatly from the African elephants. But they too get the sexually heightened stage, and sometimes it can be problematic. They can be very boisterous and aggressive towards us, unpredictable really. But other times, like this big old boy, he is completely relaxed with us. And as you can see, Viem's giving you a show on what exactly this big old boy is dining on this afternoon. And grass is the order of the afternoon. It's incredible to notice how much they change their diets over the different months. And even on a daily basis, they have a huge variety of different plants that they feed on. A bull of this size, probably weighing in at around 5 tons at a guess, would probably eat about 200 kilograms of vegetation every day, so he's going to have to go through a lot more mouthfuls of grass before he acquires that much. So as we found him, he was leaving twin dams, and that's why you can still see he's covered in a thin layer of moisture and mud. And you can imagine how soothing it must be. It's a hot afternoon, 30 degrees, 88 degrees Fahrenheit roughly. And I often get jealous watching the elephants when they do bathe themselves in cool mud. He just dusted all the sand off the grass roots. There he continues to do it again, making sure he doesn't have a sandy mouthful. The herd down to our left aren't really visible too easily, but interestingly enough they are very stationary. It's as if they're all having a bit of a midday siesta. We will pop down and visit them shortly, but I can't tear myself away from this big bull. We haven't had many on the property over the last few months, and this individual certainly stands out as one of the biggest and one of the best we've seen. Yesterday, I believe, he gave Brent and Brian a complete dust bath. Brian had to do a quick on-the-job clean of the camera that was coated in dust, and that certainly doesn't happen every day. just got a question through from Wild Dog Pup. Good afternoon and welcome. Wild Dog Pup is interested to know what induces this sexually heightened stage called must, and I'm not too sure what the triggers are, and it does vary from elephant to elephant. Let's just see what he does here. Seems like the same stunt he pulled with Brent yesterday, but we're not in his firing line here. Absolutely awesome. There's a female just below him. You can see her tail wagging. And he may have already been following this herd for a few days now. I'm guessing he has. And probably has learnt the boundaries that the cows will tolerate him, because if he oversteps that boundary, they will have a negative response. So let's just see what happens here. Hold on a second while I get into position. Oh, looks like he's scratching his bottom there. Oh no, just stopping to eat. I'm going to get around and just have a quick look at this cow's response to him getting closer. He doesn't seem like he is too bullish. Oh, although, there goes. Let's see, they're about to meet. Oh, and the size difference between the two of them is absolutely awesome. So the female just walked off in the background, turned around as soon as she saw him coming. And he picked up the body language and has now veered off towards us and left her alone. We are sitting in the shade of a massive jackalberry tree, and I'm so grateful for it because it is scorching today and a very dry heat, unlike our summer months which are hot and humid. It's a very dry, intense heat, and that's why all the elephants are in this cool riverbed and also not moving very quickly. As VM zooms in, you'll notice that between his legs are a very telltale sign of an elephant bull in must. It's dripping like a broken tap, and that is one of the clearest indicators when a bull elephant is dry, unlike this one who's just been having a mud bath. The inside of their legs show clearly wet. And also that behavior we saw earlier on when he curled up his trunk and placed it delicately on its tusk and just rested it there. That's also another telltale sign of elephant bulls in must. And something worth looking out for, because they can and are more likely to cause trouble with us when they are in must, despite this bull being completely relaxed. You should always approach them with caution. I've been told they can lose 50 to 200 litres of water every day when they are in must, and impossible amounts of water to try and imagine. Anyway, it sounds like Brent's got some action over at Buffelshoek Dam, so we're going to cut across to him, and we certainly won't be leaving this Ellie bull. We'll see you later.
Welcome back, guys. We're with Nkuhuma Pride. As we arrived, this action just started. We spent a bit of time looking for them. There's one little piece of hippo skin left, and they are still fighting. There was a lot of clawing and biting, all for about 25 seconds, and now each, the two of the lionesses have each got their sort of mouth and claws on a section of the skin. There's a big possibility they might fight again. You hear that growling. So it's amazing, even though they're all this full and they've been eating this carcass for days, they're still willing to fight for that last bit of fat that's attached to the skin. what's going to happen now is one's going to think the other has sort of lessened the grip a little bit. And then quite often this is where the snarling and slapping and clawing of each other might come. So if you look very carefully, that lioness, you can see, I'm trying to work out where one lioness begins and the other. So it looks like at that one closest to us mouth, that's actually the other lioness's paw underneath it. It's amazing how they'll fight for that last bit of fat attached to the skin. Oh. I'm just going to keep quiet so you guys can listen to those growls. Battle of attrition at the moment. Who's the more patient? Who's going to let go first? Isn't that sound incredible? When it touches something, or in me, it's so primal. You know that's danger. And imagine if you were just walking through the bush and you heard that sound. So the lioness at the back is definitely in the better position. She's got the majority of her body on the skin, and she's just lying on top of it now. And this other lioness is trying to get her head through. Is she licking the lion or the meat, Brian? I can't see from here.
I can't see either.
Maybe she's trying, okay, well, if growling and snarling is not working, maybe a bit of licking will. No, she was just trying to get her teeth on it, enough of that skin to pull. There's going to be some action here shortly. The rest of the pride are just a couple of meters away, lying absolutely flat, oblivious. And we're going to have a quick look. There they are, but we're going to stay on these two, because if anything happens, it's going to happen with these two ladies here. It's like she's going to try to pull again. Just trying to get enough grip on. Seems like she's got a little bit of skin there. Now it's going to be interesting to see if she tries to pull a bigger piece out from under the other lioness, or she's going to be contented to try chew on that small piece. There we go. She's got a good grip now. She might try playing the patience game. War of attrition. Slowly, slowly she gets a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, pulls a little bit more. The other lioness not even growling back, she's just using that fat belly of hers to just lie on top of the skin. Wasn't that noise absolutely incredible? Seems like she's got a... Oh, here we go. I think here's the next attempt to pull. So that other lioness has got her paw right in front of the nose of the one closest to us. She's not even trying to feed. She's got her teeth anchored in the skin. She's got her claws anchored in the skin. She's just not letting go. Isn't that incredible, guys? You are sitting watching lions tussle over a 3-day-old piece of hippo skin live. This is happening right now in Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands of South Africa. Looks like she's decided she's got enough to maybe start feeding, but I'm not sure whether she's actually going to start feeding or it's going to be a sneak attack to try to get that skin out away from the other lioness. Hi Genevieve, from New York, welcome on the Sunset Safari. Genevieve would like to know, since there's actually very little food left, could it just be a display of dominance? I don't think so, Genevieve. I think they are actually just trying to get the most out of that little bit of fat that's left on that hippo carcass. Very, very high in protein. It's possible that these two might have eaten a little bit less than the others, and that's why they are still tussling. Or it's also possible that they could have eaten the most first and now they're hungry again. So I suppose it's quite difficult to decide whether you should be first or last, or definitely not last in the lion pride. She's trying to sort of get her nose under the other lioness's paw. There we go. So you see that very white, that's the inside of the skin, and that's mostly fat. And I did mention about the subcutaneous fat layer is very, very thick in hippopotamus. And he's just trying to get that fat out, get as much as possible. Almost nothing of a kill out in the bush goes to waste. Different birds will come and feed on the remains of the carcass, obviously the vultures and basilia. Also with maggots and things like that, you'll get another host of bird species that will come feed off the maggots. Very, very little goes to waste. The hyenas, I'm sure, will have found those bones, and even the bones that are being bleached by the sun and been out in the bush for even a year provide calcium for other animals like porcupines and rodents. Very often chew on them. But the funniest one that we see quite often doing it is giraffe. So almost nothing goes to waste out here. Benjamin, welcome on the Sunset Safari. Benjamin would like to know why the lions breathe so quickly or so heavily. Benjamin, it's their way of dealing with heat. And in all my excitement this afternoon, I forgot to mention how warm it was for you guys. It's about 31 degrees Celsius, which is I think 88 degrees Fahrenheit. And they're unable to expel heat like we do by sweating. So they have obviously a lot of blood vessels in their mouth, and that heavy and quick breathing, panting, is to take that take in as much air and cool the blood while it's in their mouth. I'm hoping they have another dust up. Could be quite fun to watch. Become really interesting if a third member of the pride decided to get on there, because that is not a big piece of skin. I've been looking around. I haven't been able to see where the skull and the vertebrae and stuff are, but I did see 3 hooded vultures when I drove in, so maybe they dragged it across the road. Quite a clever tactic by the lioness furthest from us. Just lie, use all the body weight. Don't growl, don't fight back, just lie there. You can hear that heavy breathing. So guys, it looks like things calmed down a little bit here for now. So we're just going to cross back to Scotty and that amazing elephant bull he's with, but we will keep you updated. If things do heat up here, we'll cut back straight away. So enjoy that Eddie with Scott.
Well, as you can see, everyone, not much has changed here. We've been having a wonderful, wonderful afternoon just watching this Ellie bull feeding away. You can see he's a little bit excited. I'm not sure whether it's VM's cologne that he likes or what it is exactly. The females have moved off. Yet you'll notice he is evidently excited about something. We did hear some branches breaking behind us, so possibly another elephant bull also trailing this herd. It'll be really interesting to see if another bull did come in onto the mix, because this individual would certainly then have to confront the bull and try and compete to be the main man first in line for whichever female it is in this herd that is coming into season. I'm sure that he wouldn't be hanging around if he didn't feel like he would get lucky, but sometimes it takes a few days of convincing before they are allowed to mate. It sounds like there's been some great action with Brent and the lions, and what a wonderful thing to witness them snarling and growling with one another, fighting over food. It really is interesting to see how what can be such close family members with such good social bonds begin to act very differently when there's food on the table. A very different scene here. Peaceful eating has been occurring, and this bull has been continuing to pluck grass out of the riverbed here. The rest of the herd moved off. I'm sure they're still not far away, and it appears like he may now start thinking about following them, heading upstream. I can't help but wonder if he's enjoyed having some other male companionship around, because he literally has come up to our vehicle 2 or 3 times since we've been gone, almost just to say hello. I was hoping that while we were sitting here silently, there'd be a chance of hearing some alarm calls or any signals from animals in the surrounding area of any other excitement. But it's been dead still, and I think it will probably continue to be relatively quiet regarding predators for at least another half an hour or so. It's still very warm, and when it is warm, lions and leopards are less likely to be maneuvering, but that's certainly not a problem, especially not when there's good action up at Buffelshoek Dam with Brent already, and this elephant bull is too good to let pass by without spending more time with him. A really beautiful part of Djuma. And if I could choose one place to enjoy sightings, it would be in and along riverbeds with the beautiful big trees that you find along them. And typically the scenery is always magical. I wonder how he broke that tusk of his. Could have been fighting or possibly feeding. They use their tusks a lot to pry bark off trees. And it's not uncommon for elephant bulls, especially as their tusks get bigger and longer, for them to snap off. There are some elephants out there whose tusks have grown until they're scraped along the ground. Hard to imagine. But there are a few still around. Sadly, a lot of them were shot out as trophies, and almost a whole gene pool of big tuskers was decimated from the planet. So we don't see as many as there used to be around Africa, but there certainly were areas of Africa which were renowned for big tuskers, and that was mainly up in East Africa, where you would find some bulls with massive ivory. Hello, Dean from North Carolina, and thanks so much for sending your question through. I've been saying this big old boy many times this afternoon, but I've never told you an age that I think he could be, and that is the exact question that Dean is interested to know. How old do I think this guy is? And I would take a guess at around 45 to 50 years of age. He's certainly a mature bull. They live to around 60 years of age, has a very rough average, and obviously varies greatly from elephant to elephants. But I would take a guess at around 45 or 50. Then again, even if you ask me to judge some humans' ages, we all know that we can sometimes be way off the mark, and that's just a complete guesstimate. With animals that live for so long, it would be very difficult to research and monitor the rate of growth of any bull from when it's born to when it dies. And on top of that, they don't have territories, so they move huge distances. Oh, what's going on here? Yes, he's going to reach up. Awesome. Look at this. He often has to lean back and tilt his legs in a strange position in order to be able to arch his head up. That was awesome. Absolutely awesome. Now, I know Brent jumped out the vehicle yesterday to show you a size comparison with the same elephant bull as it was resting its trunk against the what am I going to say? The trunk, sorry, of a marula tree. But I may have to do a similar thing this afternoon and go and stand next to him and give you an idea of how tall he could reach up with that trunk of his, and we'll be able to work it out fairly accurately. So I'm definitely going to do that when he moves off. I'm guessing that he reached his trunk up to about 18 feet there, or 15 feet high. Maybe more, maybe less. We'll soon find out. I'm just under 6 foot. I think it could well be 3 times my length that he reached up there. Very interesting how the whole afternoon he's been feeding on grass, and then he all of a sudden marched up to that tree, broke off one branch just to mix it up, and now he's back to the grass. I think I answered that. I think I did finish answering that, but I'm happy to recap it. Hey, can you remember? No. I thought we was... confirm we are still live? Apologies folks, I just lost track whether we were live or Brent was live there. And that's, I guess, when you know when you're having a very relaxing afternoon with a beautiful elephant bull. And a question that was asked by a Wild Dog Pup a little bit earlier was, what would cause or induce these bulls to come into musth, this sexually heightened stage? And I'm not sure exactly what would trigger it, but it happens once or twice a year, and from anywhere from 10 days to 2 months this period can last. If anyone does know the finer details of what could trigger these bulls into this musth stage, please do share that info with us. I'm unaware of anything in specific. What I do know though is that their behavior alters greatly between the individuals. More often than not, they can be quite aggressive and boisterous towards us as humans, as well as other elephants. But as you can see, and as you would have noticed with this individual this afternoon, it's almost as if he's enjoying our company. He's let the ladies move off. And now he's just watching. Let's see what he does here. Okay, he might be moving that buffalo thorn out the way in order to get to some grassy shoots at the base of the tree. Or what exactly is he doing here? Notice how even that broken tusk aids as a tool for snapping branches, and he just snapped it between his trunk and his tusk there. What he could do is chew the bark off that stem and leave the rest of the tree. And what we'll see now is him slowly swiveling that branch around, rotating it through his molars, grinding off just the barky layer, and then probably leaving the rest of the bush alone. When he stopped there for a second or two, he became completely still. There's a very strong chance he would have been listening to infrasonic vibrations traveling through the earth, up through his feet, and then into his brain. Incredible to imagine, but they can communicate for many miles. I think 30 or 40 miles they've been recorded communicating infrasonically. Inaudible to our ear. There you noticed he would have taken just a thin piece of the bark. So he's not interested in the dead cambium layer in the middle. It's the external outer cambium layer that transports all the nutrients up to the leaves that he's targeting. Susan in Tennessee, good afternoon, and thanks for sending through your observation. Susan seems to think that the gum or lip surrounding this broken left tusk seems protruded and enlarged, almost like it's a bit swollen. I see where you're coming from, but I'm not convinced that it's any different to the layer of skin surrounding his right tusk. He will turn his head around and face us. We will be able to tell, and I'm sure if you go back to any of your screenshots you'd be able to compare them already. Maybe you already have, but I think that's a normal size, and it's not abnormal for it to be quite enlarged depending on the size of the tusks. Just heard another elephant trumpeting. I couldn't work out where it was. Do you know where it was, Liam? Was it?
I think it was about 3 o'clock.
Yeah, okay. I couldn't quite tell where the noise was coming from. It's a little bit difficult with only one ear that's open. Other one has an earpiece in. Anyway, some elephants are in the area. We've just got a question through from Ellie in Milwaukee, and she's interested to know whether the tusk of Jilly, in Milwaukee is interested to know if the tusk of an elephant is similar to our teeth, and it certainly is. It does have a central nerve, but the nerve probably ends just about where you see the tusk coming out of the mouth, or where that skin ends. So as long as the elephants don't break their tusk at that point, they shouldn't have too much of a problem. And I have seen some elephants whose tusks have broken higher up, and even though it does get infected and quite manky, it doesn't always necessarily result in death. And the animals out here are so resilient that they often heal. Oh, look at this, you can see how he's just peeled the bark off this branch, and its teeth are perfectly designed to do that. Its taxonomic name, Loxodonta africana, means angled tooth, and it's got very ridged molars that peel the bark so easily off those branches. What an awesome afternoon this is. I really wanted to reach up into that tree again and break another branch of knobthorn acacia. Brent for Scott. Brent for Scott. Well, as you'll notice, we are having troubles with the new radios that have been installed, but it's a work in progress, and hopefully with a bit of fine tuning we'll have the perfect radio network. And there's another vehicle that's just appeared on the scene, and that's the noise you'll hear. Good afternoon, Grace and Dallas. And you're certainly right, they do spend a lot of time feeding, Grace. Grace would like to know exactly how much time every day they'll spend feeding, and I think a lot of that depends on the time of year, but I would say they live quite a similar lifestyle to us. They sleep about 8 hours a day and are on the move and feeding for about 16 hours. Obviously in times of plenty they won't need to spend that long feeding, but I think it's fair to say that they spend about 16 hours every day on the move, always looking for something to chew on. And I did mention a little bit earlier, but I'll mention it again, they eat about 4% of their body weight daily. So for a big bull like this that could weigh anywhere around 5 tons, that would mean he eats about 200 kilograms, 440 pounds of vegetation every single day. It's also a two-way process. Obviously, they do need to get rid of some of all of the matter that they're putting into their mouth. So about every 20 minutes, on average, they can deposit about 3 or 4 large boluses of dung. And considering how much time we've spent with him, I'm surprised he hasn't done that. And it could happen any moment now. Laura in Happy Valley would like to see how big the girth of its tusks are, and I would say about that big, so I could be wrong, but somewhere in that vicinity. They are very, very large tusks. Lynn in Michigan, good afternoon. Lynn seems to think that this boy is very old and possibly too old to mate. We're wondering how old is it when they can no longer mate, or can they mate until the day they die? It's a good question, Lynn, and I think it's no different to us as humans. They will reach a point in their life where both the females can no longer give birth and also the men can no longer mate. So they too have a lifespan when it comes to being able to mate and give birth. But that age again will vary greatly on the individual elephants and the area that they're living in. Calvin in Boston, good afternoon and welcome to the Sunset Drive here on Djuma Game Reserve this afternoon. Now, the question is relating to also mating, but on the other end of the spectrum. How old will cows be when they can start breeding? And I'd say at around 8 to 9 years of age, but again it will vary greatly, and I'm not exactly sure. I'm actually just having a look through my book now to see exactly what they say, but as far as I remember, it's around 8 or 9 years of age. I doubt this little book that I have will actually provide too much info, but let's just see. Okay folks, well, like I say, I think at around 8 to 10 years, but you're more than welcome to double check that and let us know what other figures you come up with how old elephant cows will be when they give birth. But let's catch up with Brent and the lions and see what's going on there, and we'll see you later.
Welcome back, everyone. We're still with the Nkuhuma pride. There seems to have been a little bit of give with that piece of hippo skin, but with lions that can explode back into a very unfriendly scenario in a matter of split seconds. Especially if another lion decides to come feed on top of these two. Just in case you guys are just joining us late, or haven't been able to watch for the last few days, or if you're a new viewer, we are live next to these lions. You are seeing them at the exact same time as me. And also, just to give you a bit of background story, they killed a young hippo about 3 days ago, and we've been following the progression as they've devoured this carcass. And literally the only sort of edible piece left is this thick piece of skin that's got a little bit of fat on the inside. And these two ladies are trying to get the last morsels out of that piece of skin. The one at the back is just sort of lying on the majority of the skin, even though she's not feeding. She's trying to stop the other feeding. And earlier we had a bit of fighting. Oh, lift your head, that's dangerous. Will there be a sneak attack to try to pull that piece of skin away? They're just so fat and so hot. Almost looks like it's reached a Mexican standoff. Neither of them feeding, neither of them trying to take the piece away. Hi, Francie from Oregon. Welcome on the Sunset Safari, Francie. Francie would like to know why we're not seeing any cubs. Well, presently at the moment, there are 2 sub-adults, just over a year old. It is possible that any of these lionesses might come into estrus quite soon, but at the moment I haven't seen any signs of estrus. I haven't been with this pride long enough to know whether both of those cubs those sub-adults belong to one female or they're each from a separate female, and they would probably wait till those cubs are over, or those sub-adults are over 2 years old before they start coming to their next estrus cycle. Also, Francie, that lions, leopards, and most predators, they have a very high mortality rate with cubs. So even if they have had cubs, a lot of them don't survive past sort of the first 6-7 months. And if that happens, the lionesses will come straight back into estrus very quickly, and they have a very short gestation period for an animal of their size. So it's just over 90 days, around 100 days gestation period. So if they do lose cubs, they come into estrus within 10 days of their cubs being killed, and generally will try be mating again, or they'll be mating again within 10 days of their cubs being killed. And if they are impregnated, it's 3 months till the next set of cubs get born. Hi, Christina from Pittsburgh. Welcome on Sunset Safari. Christina would like to know, is it possible that during a dust-up over the remains of a carcass that a member of the pride might seriously injure another member of the pride? It is, or even injure them fatally. It is, Christina, and especially with younger animals, cubs and things like that, sort of under 6 months old. It does happen from time to time, where they will actually get killed at a fight at a carcass. But normally it's not a serious injury, maybe a bruised face, a clawed body part, but they can have very serious. It also depends on how much stress or pressure the pride is under for food, to the severity of the fighting. So the other lions are lying up very close by, but not partaking in the argument over let me just move this branch for you. Not partaking in the argument over the piece of hippo skin. There we go. There's a pile of lions just on the other side of the guarri bush from these two. Not doing very much fat bellies, flat cats. So guys, I don't know if too much more is going to happen here. So what do you guys think? Should we stay here a bit longer, or should we leave and go see if we can check for tracks of these Styx males that we heard about moving into the area, or maybe even possibly some leopard tracks? Why don't you guys let me know? And you can do that by emailing questions at WildEarthTV, or just use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Should we stay or should we go? Seems to be far more amicable than when we first arrived, all that growling and snarling, and there was actually a little fight that we could hear as we were driving in, a more serious fight. Oh, quickly, wow, there's vultures mating. Or fighting, I can't really see. You can hear the high-pitched. Here we go. I saw 4 hooded vultures there. So that's picking up on the scraps that's left of that hippo carcass. Being the smallest vulture, that really fine bill, they're able to eat much smaller pieces of meat than the other vulture species, and then the lions can eat. And they also do eat feces of the carnivores if there's nothing else left. I've seen them eat lion feces, wild dog feces. So the ultimate scavenger. But out of the vulture species, they're at the bottom of the vulture food chain. They're the smallest and the most slimly built in body type and in beak type. So they can get into those little nooks and crannies, get those tiny little pieces of meat that a lot of the other animals can't get. Ooh, it sounds like a few growls here. Nothing too serious though. Vultures stop fighting. We're going to go scoot around to have a look at all the rest of the pride that are completely flat at the moment. But don't forget to let me know whether we should stay here with these lions or should we could possibly go look for something else. Oh, just 1 second. There's another lion moving in here. Just hang on a second. This could get a little bit more interesting again. I'm just going to stand by for a second. One of the sub-adults has stood up and was moving towards these two. And something small like that might spark off another fight. Is it moving or is it laid down, bro? Laid down. I can't see through the bush now.
Yeah, neither can I. Can't be sure.
Okay, well, we'll carry on to the other side, see what's going on there. Christine. Hi, Christine from North Carolina. Christine says she's heard that one of the Majingis or the Majingalan males is close to Djuma at the moment. And how would this affect this pride? Well, Christine, they were quite far from where the Majingalans traditionally traverse at the moment, and even this pride doesn't really spend too much time on our sort of western boundary. They do go across there occasionally, but they do generally spend more time north and east as their sort of core area of their territory. They would probably more than likely try to run away from a Majingalan male. So we just got a different angle here on these two. Forward, back. That's good. So Christine, what really interests me at the moment is the fact that there's two Styx males. So I heard a report that those two Styx males were actually chasing that Majingalan. That's why he's in this area. And then we had that, what we think, obviously we didn't see it this morning, so we cannot be 100% sure, that Matimba calling on quarantine this morning that Scott and I both were outwitted by. And that could be quite interesting because they might stop chasing the Majingalan and head off to this Matimba. There are two of them together, and they are sort of at that right age in their prime. If I remember correctly, I think they're probably pushing on about 5 years old now. And two of them together, I think, would definitely give a Matimba male quite a good go for his money. And that, going forward, is probably going to cause more problems for a pride like the Nkuhumas. So the Majingalans, I think, are similar age to the Matimbas. So they're quite old. Sort of between 10 and 12 depending on the coalition, so they're sort of at the end of their tenure, whereas these young Styx males are sort of about to start in their prime. So just to finish off quickly, the lioness who was lying close to us for most of that has won the war of attrition, and she has now got that piece of skin all to herself. But back to those other lions, and so if the Styx males were to possibly kill or chase away the Matimba males, it would mean a very interesting time for us here, because a lot of these prides all fall within the sort of Matimba males are the dominant males of that coalition. And then any cubs that are sort of under, or lions that are under 2 years, would be killed and chased by the new males. And it would take a while for the females. They would, if they did have youngsters, they would try and move away from those males, but they would start mating with those males quite quickly. They wouldn't take too long. So from our side, that's a sort of stronger possibility than a Majingalan who's been pushed out of his territory by two young males, causing problems for the Nkuhuma pride. I'm quite sure that Majingalan will very happily head south as soon as possible back to his core territory and where the other members of his coalition are. So from what I've heard is he's been separate. He was found just patrolling singly, which male lions do quite often, even if they are in a coalition. And he was found by these two young males who decided to give him a good go, and he ran away from them. But now it's possible that Matimba male heard all this sort of noise and
any station
whatnot.
Copy? Any station copy?
Sorry guys, I just need to take the radio.
With Border Ingwe here on how to call access from the boundary line.
Oh,
It's got Border Ingwe on the access road to Hardekool from the Bopasakari platform.
Okay, thanks very much. I know Brent is nearby. He'd be interested there. Which direction is it mobile in? What's okay?
It's heading pretty much south towards the boundary. It's quite far from the boundary, quite far along the road from the Buffalo sign.
Sorry guys, just listen to the radio. We've got this new radio, digital radio system that we're still working out. Even us up here in the bush have to catch up with the times and technology. And I'm afraid I'm a little bit of a Luddite, so it's taking me a bit longer than most to get used to this radio.
Probably, Henry.
Copy, thanks very much on this, Brent.
So here's the rest of the pod. That one line is still off there, feeding on that piece of skin. And very happy, contented lions. So guys, I'm still waiting to hear from you. Should we stay or should we go?
Afternoon calls, Brian.
Very good.
Good afternoon calls, Brian.
Hey guys, we're gonna leave these fat lazy cats sleeping off the remains of that hippo they've been eating. It has been quite interesting watching that little war of attrition over the piece of skin. We're going to go check in that sort of corner of the property for the lion tracks, for male lion tracks, and hopefully we get some luck. I've also just heard a report over the radio that there were also male leopard tracks in that area. So fingers crossed, there's something happening in the northwestern sectors. And till then, we're going to cross over to Scott while we make our way out of here. And hopefully Scotty's got something interesting for you. Fantastic afternoon so far. Lions, elephants, and Scotty's been with that wonderful elephant bull. So it'll be great to catch up with Scott to see what he's been doing.
You're coming from the gate, I think that's the main road, and then you turn northwest, that road.
Welcome back, everyone. And as you can see, not much has changed here. We are still sitting with this majestic old elephant bull, and for two reasons. Oh, the squirrel's just started alarm calling very intently, and you'll be able to hear it. What has the squirrel seen? Please, might be a leopard. Sounds like it's somewhere up in this knobthorn tree where VM is now showing you. Let's just drive up there quickly and see if there isn't anything slinking around. There is a bit of an embankment that we cannot see up. It could be a bird of prey, it could be a mongoose, it could be a snake, but it could also be a leopard. So we're just going to go and have a quick look. As I was saying, there's two reasons why we were hanging around here. We don't get to see big elephant bulls very, very often, even though this guy's been around for the last few days. And the other reason is that I do want to go and stand underneath that tree that he reached up into to break an acacia branch. What could be the cause of this squirrel's discomforts? They can see from a long way, and whatever it is seeing may not be right underneath the tree. So that can be the first thing that makes our life a bit difficult. Coupled with the fact that it could be alarming at any of the predators that we find here, not just the leopard. Well, I can't seem to see it, and it also seems to sound like it is not in the tree I initially thought it was, but maybe it's just moved around. Exciting nonetheless, even though we're not sure what it is. There is still a chance anything interesting, predator-wise, could pop into view. This is the same tree he reached up into. where we are parked under, waiting to try and see where and what the squirrel was alarming at. If the elephant got wind of any larger predators, he too would show some level of discomfort towards them. So useful that we have his sensors available to us. Oh, I've just seen the squirrel running down the tree. So obviously whatever it was that was bothering it has now either moved off. There it is, Vian. Looks like a young squirrel, it's not fully grown. And there it goes, making its way down this beautiful knobthorn tree. Sniffing very intently as it goes. Maybe there's some other squirrel scent marks on that tree. Looks like it's coming towards us, which is abnormal squirrel behavior. Now it's hiding behind a little bush, but it should pop into view shortly as it continues down this little pathway. It seems to be nibbling on something. It's a great pity we cannot see what it's nibbling on. It could be the dried berries falling. Oh no, I'm getting confused now. It wouldn't be the dried berries falling from a jackalberry tree, but it could be the seed pods from this knobthorn acacia. Oh, but now it's back on the tree. And it got a little bit spooked, whatever it was feeding on. Such useful little animals. They are probably one of the main animals that help us find predators. It's because they are so widely dispersed throughout the property. Almost wherever any predators move, these little critters let out their very characteristic alarm call, which helps us to fine-tune where the animals are. It was a squirrel that helped us just yesterday afternoon relocate on Nkuhuma, a beautiful big male leopard that we had found, and then he lost us through some thick vegetation. And a squirrel actually led us towards him, and interestingly enough, the squirrel took us into an area quite far from the leopard's original movements of direction of movements. We were standing by in the completely wrong area as the leopard had diverted course drastically, and it was the squirrel that saved the day. Feeding below us here. And I think I'm going to take us a little bit closer now that we seem to think the squirrel was not letting off an alarm of anything big enough for us to see. A root canal similar to ours, and if it snaps off too high it would have nerve endings exposed, and it certainly would, and it would be in a great level of discomfort. And Pamela's question's asking whether elephants will self-medicate for any given reasons, and I think they certainly will. I have read reports of them doing so. It's difficult for us to understand exactly what medicinal properties each plant has and the effects it has on an elephant specifically, but we can assume that they do know the various plants and the goodness that they can acquire from feeding on certain plants, especially when they are sick or injured. Great question though, Pamela, and sadly a difficult one for us to know exactly how it works, especially out here in the wild. I'm sure captive studies have shown elephants to be able to assess which plants have got certain medicinal uses and how they could help the elephants. But out here I haven't noticed any specific trends or traits with regards to them eating specific plants if they have a specific illness. The squirrel has begun to alarm call again. I wonder what it is that it can see. Copy that, Brent. Please can you keep me updated on your movements? I'm just going to reposition ever so slightly. He certainly found his happy place here in the riverbed. He spent probably close on an hour in this very, very small area. And he's been feeding predominantly on grass, but every now and then he mixes it up. He also had one branch of knobthorn tree, one branch of the leadwood tree that is situated directly behind him, and now he's feeding on what looks to be a sandpaper raisin tree. The leaves have got a very coarse texture like that of sandpaper. So he's mixing it up. And that is common for elephants, and already an example of how their varied diet will help them acquire various nutrients and properties that will help the elephants to grow to this massive beast that they are. Sudan in the Netherlands. Good afternoon, and thanks for sending your question through. Susan's interested to know whether elephants can process, just by smell, the dung of other elephants and read into what state they may be in, and they certainly can. An elephant bull that smells the dung, and they often defecate and urinate at the same time, elephants. So that combined patch of information will allow elephants to know whether females are in season or whether bulls are in must, I think, almost certainly. Their sense of smell is so acute, and that definitely is the case, Susan. It's wonderful to see how his skin has dried over the hour that we've spent with him, but there are still certain patches of mud that have got enough moisture in it to still show a little bit of wetness, and therefore helping to keep the elephant cool. But he probably won't need to coat himself in another layer of cool mud this afternoon. It is cooling down every minute now and turning into a very pleasant evening. It was very hot and dry earlier, but it's turning out to be a magical afternoon. And I believe Brent has left the lines in search of other excitements, and I've got a feeling that he may pull something interesting out of the bag this evening, so it's certainly going to be worth hanging around and getting the next update from Brent, whatever it may be. I've just got a feeling he's onto something.